A donation to those less fortunate. Not everyone is privileged to enjoy the finer things in life. At least that's what lesser people might lead you to believe. Privilege. I scoff at the word's definition twisted and mangled into an insult thrown at the upper echelon in society. Despite my disdain for its intentionally hurtful connotation, I'll wear it as a badge of honor. The road to privilege is worn down by blood, sweat, and tears. Oh, the multitude of tears that path yields. Through those heartaches, we find ourselves atop a glorious mountain with a vista few will ever see and many will never earn. My privilege is to look down at those below, quicker to shout a derogatory remark rather than dig down into the trenches that led me here. Hard work, accompanied by a quick wit, leads one to victory, while a dull mind with an aptitude for lethargy keeps those deserving at the bottom. I'll never feel sympathy for someone lacking my motivation or tenacity. The world only rewards those with a thorough understanding of the machinations that make every interconnected system function reliably and without fail. For those unable to understand the complexities of those systems, their lives are spent better turning the gears that make the world go round. But not everyone is a disgruntled cog in the machine. For some, the very systems they are born into do not allow any form of social advancement. No matter how hard they work, their station will always remain so far below what could vaguely be seen as comfortable, if not livable. To those unfortunate souls, I share my pity, and only that. Although they may never see a day with clean water in their cups, nor a belly full of nourishment, their sorrowful existences are still utilized to their fullest advantage, their meager lives placed on a pedestal to better elevate the standings of those who conquer the mountain. If charity were a language, it would be written out in dollar signs with plenty of commas and zeros. Picking a cause to fight for isn't difficult, but transgressing that language into personal advantage is an acquired art. My husband and I rallied for a cause as old as time, to provide food for those less fortunate than ourselves. The fight to end world hunger was trivial to rally support for, although finding the right impoverished group to aid was tricky at first. We settled on the sunken faces of Venezuelans to be the display of our foundation. Latin America was the perfect region to funnel money through, and what little finances remained after transferring from one shell corporation to another could be used to do some good perhaps. Like many other non-profit organizations, our operations were like a snake eating its own tail. It only grew larger with every bite. As heads of the foundation, we were privy to wondrous benefits, the most important being tax-exempt status. By donating to our own foundation, we received generous tax deductions and would sparingly award ourselves with bonuses. Strictly following the letter of the law, we created an ever-flowing money machine, and all it cost was the occasional photo opportunity at a food bank. We found a foundation that worked, and the world would have kept spinning until our banquet was so rudely interrupted by sour-mouthed, greedy vigilantes with a desire to take what we rightfully gained. The kind of bottom-feeders society wished to keep lowered to their heels had taken our event hostage to ramble on about the unfairness of a system they helped create. On November 23rd, 2020, we held a fundraiser for our foundation, Javier's Second Helping. The event was anticipated to receive the bulk of the donations for the fiscal year, as well as act as an over-extravagant publicity stunt. We knew that hosting such an event would draw a healthy level of media attention, especially given the current state of civil unrest, but that didn't sway us away from hosting the event anyway. Any publicity is good publicity, particularly if it's centered around a universally agreed-upon worthy cause. Our lavish masquerade would have been the talk of the town, and if a few bad actors jealous of our privilege wanted to comment on it in poor faith, then it was just that simple to paint them as the oppressors wanting to take food out the mouths of hungry children. With a few hundred guests in attendance, my husband and I made our way around the venue, conversing along with some of our most prospected high donors. Although everyone would partake in the evening's assured future tax deductions, we would be the only ones to truly profit from the occasion. We just had to smile wide and laugh along with jokes we otherwise would not have ever found humor in, all to save face and allow the night to go off without a hitch. From the lowest hedge firm to the most notable philanthropists, we were set to enjoy a night of pleasant music shared with members of our class while swapping accolades over cocktails. If only the festivities we envisioned were to flourish, the event could have been one to remember. Rather, we were left with a nightmare where only our darkest dreams could have imagined. A wondrous spectacle was sent to ruin by the very people our systems had designed to kneel before us. Every one of prominence was taken hostage. I'm not sure which part surprised me more, the fact that the very help we hired to cater the masquerade were the ones raising guns to our heads, or the very fact that it was a masked event allowed just enough anonymity to allow it to transpire in the first place. Perhaps a mix of both, but nonetheless, words cannot describe the horror I felt at the mercy of those beneath me. Their leader was quick to hijack the stage from our modest orchestra to focus all attention away from the cause we strive to promote. She was tall, slender with a thin frame, and strode to the stage with an air of both poise and confidence. Straight, jet-black hair flowed with each stride she took as she held firm to her automatic weapon, pointed high in one hand while a tall glass of golden champagne sparkled its delicate bubbles in the other. When she found her center point on stage, she quickly downed the drink without a care of taking a moment to savor the discerning complexity of its flavor, then tossed the empty glass to the floor, splintering it into a matrix of fine shards. She then took her slim fingers and untied the exquisitely crafted jeweled mask that covered her eyes, revealing a distinct Asian heritage. Her face held a beauty that was far removed from the ugly display she presented before the terrified crowd. The woman gave a smile and began her nonsensical tirade. Such a wonderful, worthy cause. Feeding hungry children in a part of the world most of you would never care to visit. It just makes me curious. What about the millions of starving children right here in the good old USA? No one seems to give a shit about taking care of our own. In fact, I'd wager that no one present really even cares about the very people this foundation is meant to help. No, this room is just filled with people helping one another steal from every other citizen in this country, not a part of your inner circles. It's obvious that this foundation, this non-profit organization, is structured entirely around exploiting cracks, flaws, and loopholes in our fair nation's laws. Legally, sure, all of you are just doing what our government allows. Morally, every one of you is bankrupt. Yet despite your blatant thievery, I'm confident that all of you sleep pretty easy. Your biggest headache in life is your maid not cleaning quickly enough, your drivers not driving fast enough, your employers asking for a proper salary. All the while, millions of us wonder, where are we going to sleep tonight? Where and when will we have our next meal? How much longer do we have to suffer so you can continue to live lavish and exorbitant lifestyles? "You have no right," shouted a brave older man taking a stand, although he had a gun pointed at him by one of the waitstaff. "You stand up there and lecture us when you refuse to pull yourself out of the muck? Let me guess, you want a handout? Not gonna happen. It's only a matter of time before the feds rush in here and put you down like the dogs you and your conspirators are." She waited for a moment, allowing the man to vent out what all of us hostages were thinking. "Are you done?" He began to tremble, yet kept any further thoughts to himself. The woman gave a nod to her comrade holding a gun, and he proceeded to fire several shots into the old man's head. The room filled with screams as all the masked guests fell to the floor and covered their heads. Let me tell you how this is going to go so everyone is on the same page. I don't care about any one of your lives. Only you do. I will not hesitate to, as your friend so eloquently said, put any of you down like the dogs you are. As the crowd cowered to the floor, afraid of becoming her next target, the woman spoke loud and clear with a cavalier tone, as though every word that came from her lips were well rehearsed. "Those of you working this event and have remained unaware of our planned festivities tonight, to you we come bearing gifts. Everyone from the catering and wait staff to the musicians and people in control of the audio-visual effects shall remain untouched. If you like, you can leave now and will not be barred from exiting the premises. However, if you choose to stay, you will take your share of the spoils. All of the people working the event continued to huddle down to the ground with the rest of us. With live weapons all around us, at the behest of an unhinged woman, no one wanted to chance giving her a reason to shoot them dead. Even with permission to leave, I would have stayed put as well. It wasn't worth the risk. For the rest of you, tonight we command a penance. You will gather, one by one, at the front of the stage and pledge a donation to the digital wallet we have set up. One of her acquaintances rolled a cot meant for holding hors d'oeuvres to the base of the stage, carrying a small tablet. If you do not have your wallet on you, we can assist with that. However, if you attempt to stall for time or outright refuse to participate, you will be shot. No questions asked and without hesitation. Upon everyone successfully donating their ill-gotten gains, we will redistribute those funds back to the help, and the rest of you will be allowed to leave the building with your infinitesimal lives intact. They wanted money. This entire venture was about taking what was rightfully ours. More so, they were oddly specific about what they wanted from us exactly. Our cryptocurrency. It was common knowledge that traditional currency was nearly worthless as of late, and that everyone with any sense had converted over, but what struck me the most was that with a single look at our wallets, they would see just how much each of us had. This grim reality made it evident when their first victim was called to the stage. Samuel R. Howard, CEO of Howard Capital and Investments, with a digital balance worth over $500 million. Please come and make your donation. My husband and I knew Howard and his family adequately. Well, we knew of them at least, as we entertained the same circles. These crooks knew our names, our accolades, and a rough estimation of our net worth. This information, although something we carried with pride, was tarnished in this particular situation. What didn't they know? As Howard placed his phone to the tablet, ready to submit a donation under duress, he looked up to the woman and croaked out a question all of us wanted an answer to. How much? The woman strutted to the front of the stage, then bent down to Howard with a devilish smile. Everything. An audible gasp filled the room as we all felt as though we were struck into the heart with a knife. They wanted every last penny from us. As dastardly as this was, I struggled to keep my breathing steady, trying to focus on getting out of here. So long as we followed their demands, we would, hopefully, leave with our lives intact. It would then only be a matter of time before they were caught. Thanks to the blockchain, the authorities could follow the ledger and eventually apprehend these criminals. Sure, they might escape for a little while, but stealing cryptocurrency would only put a target on their backs. The ledger alone would generate just the right kind of paper trail, one that couldn't be erased or changed. The moment the money left our digital wallets and arrived in theirs, it would forever leave a trail of evidence leading back to them. All we had to do was comply and get through the evening. One after another, people were escorted to the stage and stripped of everything they had worked so hard for. The entire experience made me feel ugly. We were exposed in a light most unfavorable from a group of greedy degenerates. The night wouldn't continue without bloodshed. Whenever someone approached the stage, they were set under a microscope. One claimed he didn't have a wallet on him, and that his crypto was secured in a USB drive in a vault in his home, resulting in a bullet sent to his head. That very well might have been true, but our captors didn't care. The only options were to give them everything we could in that moment or die. Another man attempted to give them only the entire balance in just one of his wallets, while admitting the fact that he used multiples. The lie of omission left him lifeless on the floor. We were helpless, as not even our paid security lifted a finger to aid us, as it was revealed that many of them were bought off to allow the event to continue without interruption. Whoever these people were, their entire operation was planned down to the finest detail. Either that, or the people we paid to protect us didn't feel their contracts were worth getting shot. When my name was finally called, second to last, everyone in the banquet hall trembled with every step as a masked man pulled my arm, nearly dragging me to the stage. I couldn't hold back my tears, but I tried to keep a steady hand as I fumbled through my phone to open my wallet. Everything from my personal wallet was drained, but I didn't have access to the foundations. My husband has the account for the non-profit. I let the woman know, my voice shaking from the thought of potentially setting her off. She had me stand aside as my husband approached the stage to verify my claim. As he set all the crypto in the last of our accounts over, he glanced at me with a heavy sigh. "It's going to be okay," he mouthed. "You two," the woman called to us. "This entire event was your idea, wasn't it?" Before my husband could reply, I blurted out, Yes, it was. We wanted to do some good in the world, so we—" The woman leapt off the stage towards us and held her gun to my chest. "Bullshit!" "No, I mean it most sincerely. We established the foundation so that we could help hungry children in Latin America. This whole evening was arranged to acquire more funding to help others." She then grabbed a fistful of my hair and twisted it as she pushed me down to my knees. For those of you with skulls and egos too thick to understand, pay attention. Your ledger shows everyone that sees your wallet exactly where your money goes. Do you really think that we would go through all the trouble of doing this if we didn't properly prepare? She pushed the barrel of her gun to the back of my head, then yelled at my husband. "You and your kind are so disconnected from reality, you don't even see it. All of your constant lies are repeated so often that I think you actually believe it to be true. I'll give you one opportunity to save your wife's life, and you better be honest. Name one kid your Ponzi scheme has helped." At that moment, I was prepared to die. There wasn't anything we could say to change her mind. I looked at my husband as he struggled to come up with an answer. We both knew the truth to her question, and doubted it would stop her from pulling the trigger. Everything we built led us to this moment. Years spent crafting a non-profit following just the right laws that made everything we did legal, paved the road for the scum of the earth to want to take advantage of our generosity. I never knew it would end in violence. "I can't," he stammered out, ready for her to pull the trigger. I closed my eyes and tensed my neck, just to be thrown down to the ground. Surprised she let me go, I quickly crawled to the safety of my husband's embrace. We held one another closer than ever before, and for the first time in our many years of marriage, I felt the warmth his love offered. She was a woman of her word. All it took was him admitting that ultimately, we do nothing. She called to the help for them to take their cuts of the proceeds, but none of them stepped forward. I'm sure they all instinctively knew that by accepting anything of value from the gain would make them complicit in their criminal activities. The woman and her 4 associates took the tablet containing all of our crypto and went on stage. One of the men handed her a small hammer as she dropped the tablet to the ground. She then began to beat the tablet with each lay of the hammer, sending more and more pieces of it flying about. All the money they stole from us was worthless to them. So they collected it all into a wallet of their own making and proceeded to destroy it. We all watched in horror with each strike, the pounding metal of the hammer meeting the glass display, causing it to shatter. We felt every blow. In doing so, they delivered a message to us that words could not describe. They didn't just steal from us. They ensured that the money they took was completely erased from existence. With the wallet pulverized, all the crypto inside it was also gone for good. Now, before we leave, any questions? She had made their statement abundantly clear. I stood up, a rush of courage filling me with rage at the display shown before us. The small part of me that remained unafraid of the world, entitled to know its secrets, demanded to know what all of this was about. All the deaths rendered needless, the terror they imposed that would live with us survivors forever. "Who do you think you are?" I cried with an urgent desire to know. The woman became stone-faced and delivered her reply with a sternness that shook fear into all of us. "We are your death wish."